Welcome to a new episode of the Advancing Consciousness series with Franco Di Nicola. This is a place where people can come to gain further insight and clarity as to what is going on and how we can shift things on a personal and global level, while also accessing higher levels of consciousness and awareness. We bring this series to you free of charge so that many are able to access this information. However, if you resonate with what Franco shares and you would like to support his work, contributions are welcomed and greatly appreciated. A link is in the description and will be provided in the chat if you feel guided to do so. Also, we have many previous workshops, such as a couple of our most recent, Maneuvering with Neutrality and Alignment during this next wave of unfoldments, and Deprogram Clearing Empowerment Workshop. You could also join us in our membership program, Let's Talk About You, where like-minded people come together bi-weekly to talk about the topics requiring deeper understanding and clarity. All of these are available on Teachable, and we encourage you to check them out as they are great resources at very affordable prices to assist in better understanding this human experience. The Teachable link will also be provided in the chat and description. And lastly, don't forget to share, as the more of us coming together and creating a shift in oneself, the more effective it'll be to shift things globally. Thank you for joining us and being part of the change. Enjoy today's broadcast.
Welcome everybody to another episode of Advancing Consciousness series. Today we play with episode 67. And as I left from the last episode, I did mention that in this episode we would play with a few things that can be very interesting for us to experience. And many of us, to some form or another, is experiencing it. And that's why we're going to play with it, because it helps us navigate on a new level forward. And that's how it actually works. When we look at stepping up any part of our experience, we require to let go things that may hold us back. And the topic today is very much affecting us in how we move forward. And we're also going to take a closer look at the true nature of certain parts of it and certain experiences and labels that we have given it, so that we will be able to be not only have a deeper understanding, but we'll also do a little process to kind of let those parts go so that we can free ourselves even further. So, thank you for coming together. I am running solo today in regards to the control panels and everything else. However, I do have Kimberly remotely that is monitoring the questions and comments and so forth from a distance. And if you can see my lovely earrings here, which are just little iPods or whatever they call these things in my ear, they're microphones, headset, so that I will hear Kimberly if she wants to share something, and then I will address it, and so that you're not left without monitoring. For myself to monitor it, it's very difficult because I am standing up here and the computer is a bit of a distance. So anyways, if you are new, I'm just going to put up a few things here. If you're new and you're on YouTube, please subscribe. Click the notification bell, share with as many people as possible, provide comments and whatever else. All of these things will allow to be seen by more people. The work that we're putting together here is to assist many, many people to shift forward in a big way so that we would be able to really take a huge leap forward in everything that we're doing. Because right now we're going through a lot of changes, and the better we can be from that connected point and be able to direct it much more clearly, we can advance not only ourselves but the collective in a very powerful way. So if you're on Facebook, please comment, like, share also. If you're on any other platforms, on Twitter or whatever else, share and so forth. If it resonates for you, then, fantastic. Just share it. I'm not saying share it if you don't resonate with it, because this is either resonates for you now or later, or, it's really not for you at this time. That's fine. But the thing is, the fact that you're on, the fact that you're being exposed to this is, in a way, saying to you that there's something here that is being offered that I require to create a shift in myself, meaning yourself. So, as we know, we do not create anything in our experience that in one way or another does not serve. So, please share, comment, and subscribe. And so today, we're really going to be looking at perception of mistakes. And the reason I use perception, because it is a perception. A lot of people say, well, yes, no, that's real. Things like that. No, it's a perception. First of all, we're creating a reality through many different perceptions and from a base foundational of knowing how the game is and how to shape it and so forth. But a lot of times what we have been creating up to this point in time and still using as part of our foundation is still very perceptionally based. So we're looking at the perception of mistakes. And a lot of us believe we made a lot of mistakes, poor choices. We should have taken option B instead of A, or I should have done this, or I shouldn't have done that, or whatever it is. So we're going to look at mistakes and, of course, failure. I mean, we've heard that a lot. You either succeed or you fail. And most of the time you say, well, you failed. And then we label ourselves as failures and so forth. So we're going to look at that, and we're going to look at guilt. I'm sure no one has any guilt, and no one has any regret. And I am being playful in that nature, because we all deal with some form of guilt, regrets. And the thing we need to know, it controls us in a very powerful way. It takes the journey on a kind of, I say, a path that may not, in one way or another, provide that openness, that freedom that we're choosing to experience. So that's what we're going to play. And then, as you can see at the bottom, we're going to be doing a process. And that process is, if you're up to it, to let go any part of what we've attached ourselves to and we've made, an investment in, or we have loved. Because again, you have to understand, when it comes to letting go of mistakes or ideas of failure, we build a foundation on that. We build our whole identity and structures around that. And because we use that as a crutch, as the support mechanism, we end up reactivating it over and over again, and we excuse ourselves over and over again for where we are now and what choices and availability you may have. Because here we are. We have no more fixed timelines. Everything is fluid. We're in a situation where you can plug in anything you choose at any point in time. No restrictions. Except the restrictions that we apply, the restrictions that we adopt. So if we're looking at that and you're going down that path, for us to be able to create something while we're putting a lot of focus on what we've labeled ourselves, it really tunes down our capacities. It actually shifts our creativity. It shifts our imagination. And we create a storyline that we not only excuse ourselves, we use it as a way to perpetuate it in any communication, interactions we may have with others. Because the thing is, if you take on this idea that you made a foul mistake or many, many mistakes, you will see how you feel. It will change not only how you feel, how you see the world. And with those eyes of the idea of mistakes, you make different choices. And you also see it that in one way or another, it's hopeless, or that in one way or another, there is no future for you because of those mistakes, because of poor choices, because of the fact that we had an opportunity, we didn't take it, and things of that nature. When it comes to failure, we have this beautiful idea that we have collectively put so much attention on the idea that you either succeed or you fail. And if we have some lovely parents, we probably heard the mistake and failure thing many times. If we've gone to school and we spent time with various teachers and instructors and also other playmates, we probably heard the idea of mistakes and failures many times. And that we internalize and kind of label ourselves based on that. So we're going to focus on those things. So the first thing here, let's take a mistake. What does it mean? Mistake. Oops. Let's use a skinny one so that we don't mistake. Well, you're taking a view, a perception that can be your own by your own observation, or can be given to you by others that have set a certain guideline of what is correct and what is wrong, what's good, what's bad. Okay? So what you do is you mistake. So you see something a certain way, you interpret it a certain way, or you actually understand it in a way, and then you take action or not action based on that. So you're taking, see the word take, you take a perception, you take an idea, you take some observation of some sort, and you create something around that. Now, from a true perspective, if you spend time to connect with yourself, you ask yourself right now, so let's do this real quickly. If you spend a moment to really put your attention on the heart, okay? So just feel your attention and focus on the heart. Unless you're driving or doing something that needs your attention, don't do that. And you don't have to close your eyes, but if you feel comfortable and you can close your eyes. But put your attention in your heart. Okay? So when you're connecting with your heart, you're connecting with your soul. You're connecting with your higher self. Okay? Now, your higher self can support you to some degree to support an idea that may be one way or another, polarized or otherwise, because it's a part of a tool. But if you tune in and ask yourself right now, is there such a thing as a mistake? A fact where you make a poor, wrong choice? Is there a mistake or is there an opportunity? Is there a mistake or a constructed, orchestrated creation? Is it a mistake or a choice or non-choice of taking a particular direction versus another? Because when you tune into that, see what comes to you. Is there any such thing as a mistake? From the heart's level, you will understand, if you tuned in correctly, there are no mistakes. There are choices. There's levels of understanding. There's perceptions. And then we build on that. Now, if you actually pay attention and you're not playing in the judgment game, if you look at certain choices you may have made in your life or not made, or the fact that you took A versus B as a direction or a journey, or understood something and didn't understand it to the same capacity as before, Can you see that no matter what choice you make, you create a path? You create a sequence of experiences. So if we asked ourselves, and you're honest with yourself, meaning that you're not going to judge it, label it because of a perception or idea what the collective may have said, did you make the choice that was most available for you at that time? With the understanding you were at, with the playmates that you may have been involved with, the circumstances energetically and whatever else, did you make it based on that? We make choices based on several things. Sometimes it's a feeling from within. A lot of times it could be just the ego stuff going on. Or at least it seems that way, because even when the ego is taking you for a ride, there is still a higher perspective or perception of you, or that perspective of you that's also involved. As much as you can hear the stories, you can make a choice and you can listen to your ego 100%, but unless it's absolutely still in alignment to some degree to your higher self, certain circumstances that you will create from a superconscious level to interfere or not let that choice go. Because unless it absolutely serves you, the choice will not be executed. You may make the choice, but it will not unfold. If it follows through and unfolds, you will see that that was somehow serving you. We make choices no matter what, based on what best serves at that time. It has nothing to do with any other time. At that time. Because the thing is, if you made a choice here, say here you make a choice at a certain point in your life, so there's your here, and now this is your now, because you're here now. This choice that you made right here at that point in time required you to be at a certain state, not only of consciousness, through a sequence of experiences, through a series of playmates at the time, and what was going to best bring a certain level of experience for you to be able to really enrich that experience. So here you are, you made a choice, and yes, it would have directed or played a part, okay, along the way, because you may have started a certain path. But at the same time, all of this is always upgrading regardless. And you always have the choice to, when it feels completely done, no longer to use that as part of your experience. Now, if you're here in the now and you're looking at this choice that you made, it's going to take a different view. Very much so. But there's two parts to that. So the first view is you're looking at that and you're saying, wow, why did I make such a choice? In this case, why did I make the mistake of choosing this versus something else? Why did I put so much time, effort, and energy in that instead of something else? So if you're looking at all of this, you're saying, okay, well, from here, looking at this, it looks very different. At this point, that was the best choice you had, regardless if you had 10 choices. So you could have had 10. So let's not make it complicated. So you had A, you had B, and let's say C. Those are your choices. So you chose B for whatever reason. Because, why? It felt what was the best choice to make. Now, this could have been what looked like on the surface easier. So you're looking at an easier journey. This one here would have been more colorful, if you want to call it that. So you got more colorful. This one was intense. So you chose the intense one. Now, why would you choose? You wouldn't choose easier. Why wouldn't you choose colorful? That's probably hard to read, but anyways. Why would you not choose colorful instead of using the intense one? What's the difference? Why would you choose one over the other? Because at that time, first of all, you may not have known that it would have been intense. But the second part of it is that felt the one that you were drawn to. Now, you could have had two channels coming in, one being, your higher perspective, your gut feel is saying, nah, we don't want to go there, but there's all this other part is like, I need to go there. Yeah, could the ego have been involved? Well, it plays a part of the ego, but like I said, the superconscious, your higher self at one point or another would intervene if that wasn't best for you. So here you are, you took the intense one. Why would you take the intense one? Because it would serve the best. It would create a stage, a sequence of opportunities that provided you exactly what you needed, because that is something that you determined to allow you to become a specific way and to have a specific experience that would prepare you for your journey forward, create an opportunity to go deeper into a certain experience where you would have a deeper understanding or something of that nature, or stage it in such a way that you would have exactly what would serve moving forward from there. This is why you choose it. So when you're looking at certain choices that you may make, you can't really look at it and say, I chose B, so I made a mistake, and my consequences, my choices right now are all based because of that choice, because I chose B instead of A or C. But the thing is, had you taken the easier one, say A, for example, would it provided you exactly what you needed? Now, at the mind level and the collective level would have said, yes, it's easier, you would have been privileged, you would have had all these other opportunities from a inverted 3D, inverted 2D state in the inverted matrix. Okay, so at this point in time, you could have had friends, relationships, certain things a certain way. So from that perspective, you're looking at, well, A would have been a better choice. From a superconscious level, which combined all of it, it saw that B was a better choice. And B was what was necessary on your path. Now, the trick here, you made that choice. You had that experience. It may have provided you a follow-up of experiences. However, you are here. Do you still need this as part of your reference point? The purpose is not the experience. The purpose is the consciousness that you've gained. Possibly the resilience, the emerging of yourself. Many, many things. You're now better equipped to do a particular job, role, whatever it is, in your life journey. How many of us have gone through many, many intense things in our lives, and it has made us very strong for this time? To be able to say, I'm not just going to follow the wave of whatever anybody else is doing. I'm going to be rock solid and make my own choices, regardless how many are saying, doing, acting, or being a certain way. So the question comes to you. Did you make a mistake in choosing B, which gave you intensity that provided you a sequence of experience, and here you are now. Did you make a mistake? Or was that just a perception that it was a mistake? See, the thing is, we have to understand, there are truly no mistakes. Really, what really exists is carefully constructed, orchestrated choices that provide certain sequences of experiences. The thing that we get caught up in, is it a mistake too? We can call it that, but it's not. We get caught up and keep referring to a choice. Now, of course, I'm simplifying it. There's not like one choice. We make choices every single day, every moment. We choose A, B, C, D, whatever. We also choose how to perceive things and feel things and whatever else. And what we're going to carry from the past. So when we're looking at it from a higher perspective, you're saying, okay, I made that choice. I made many, many other choices. Each one was colorful or created intensities or an easy ride. Each one served to some degree or another. Each one prepared me for where I am today. And you have a question? Okay, hold on a second, okay? So you prepared yourself down the path. So each of those choices empowered you more. Now, sometimes people say, well, no, I felt that my life went down this dark path. We've all made certain choices that may have looked that way, and that was necessary for us to prepare ourselves. Even if we didn't see the flowers growing yet, we're at that position now. Go ahead, Kimberly. Oh, long question. Okay. Okay, so about being in a body that carries a little extra weight, I can't repeat everything that you've said, but at the same time, to understand that part, Nicole, or Nicola, whatever, to understand that our body is exactly the way it needs to be right now. Is it permanent or anything of that nature? No. However, if it serves you, it will. Now, in regards to society, the collective saying that you need to be, thin and look this way and so forth, that is the staging to put you in a situation to be able to get to that point and say, this is the body I chose. This is the body I have been supporting. I'm going to be okay with whatever is. See, the thing is, we're going to talk about that going a little further there about loving yourself and so forth, because really it's not us loving ourselves, because a lot of people say, well, I need to love myself, and appreciate myself and whatever else. Well, the best way, the easiest way, is stop judging. Stop comparing. You're already perfect. You're perfect in how you need to do. Now, if you're judging yourself and feeling bad for yourself, guess what? Then we're going to use certain default programs in ourselves to binge or make choices that are less supportive or anything of that nature. See, the thing is, when you're comfortable with your body the way it is right now, then you can set up or discuss or have a dialogue with your body. Just going into a quiet state, instead of going, why are you doing this or that? Why are we carrying weight? You don't go there. That's not where you put your attention and say, body, I am with you, and I appreciate you and accept you the way you are. However, if together we can come up with what we feel would be best and say, being in a lighter body, and I want to support you, it wouldn't be so much the lighter body. How can I support you so that you are more in your natural state, more comfortable state? Because the thing is, a lot of times what happens is the biggest challenge we have is the self-judgment and comparison, and the fact that we have a resentment with ourselves because we look a certain way, or our body is a certain way, or anything of that nature. Accept it the way it is. That's the first step. Be okay with that. Now, what I would suggest to do, of course, paper and pen, and write down what bothers me about my body. Okay, I carry more weight and it's uncomfortable, that I can't buy the dresses or clothing or whatever that I want. The fact that other people say whatever, right? So you want to look at all those reasons and break it out. So people don't see me like them in a matchbox body, you know, very slim or whatever. Or the fact that in some way or another I cannot have particular clothes or whatever it is. What bothers you about that? So you want to get to the core of what really bothers you about those things, and you want to, first of all, acknowledge it, thank it for the experiences provided, blast it with love, feeling deep, deep love for it, and then let it go. Put it into the field. Okay? So the thing is, when you are in harmony with yourself and the body, and you're not looking at yourself because of choices you made, and you actually communicate with your body, the stuff that you have a difficult time shifting from, say junk food, to give you an example, could be drinking, could be, you know, all types of different experiences within ourselves. When we're feeling good with ourselves and we're communicating with the body, even heavy-duty addictions shift. It starts to, because you're listening to the body, you're actually paying attention to the body as you are consuming whatever you're consuming. And you pay attention to how it feels even after you've consumed it. And if you binged, you binged, but feel yourself how it feels. Instead of judging yourself, oh shit, I did this again, I just finished eating a whole carton of whatever, or a bag of something, you know, and say, okay, that's what I did. I'm going to be with the feeling. I'm going to experience it. I'm not going to judge it. So all of these things start to break down the labels and definitions that we've adopted and plugged in to our reality. And that makes it a lot easier. I've had people that have been having many addictions in their lives of all types of forms. And when we really looked at and dissected all of those labels and definitions and self-charges that they put in because they didn't like this or that about themselves, they were okay with it. Remember, your body is a reflection of you, but that you that we're talking about is what creates the stage. Now, if you're feeling embarrassment or you're feeling not good enough, you want to address all of those things, because those are things that are coming up for you. Okay? Those are stories, perceptions, and belief systems, because you're saying, I want it to be this way, but I'm this way instead. So you're going to acknowledge you're this way. You're going to be okay with this way. And you're going to say, okay, I'm okay with this. However, I'm also open to allow it to shift. And if it doesn't shift this way, it shifts a different way, but that's fine. You allow it to shift. And if it doesn't, it's okay too. But you will notice that it will shift, because we create experiences to serve us, to bring up all of our stuff. For example, like the example of a lot of people carry some extra weight and whatever else. We hold on to it long enough to bring up all the shame, all these ideas that I'm not good enough, or the fact that I have to hate my body, or that, I gotta, I have all these things happening in my life, because it's really, those things are all been created from old versions of yourself. When we were heavily into the inverted matrix, when we were more heavily in the inverted 3D and the more heavily in the inverted 2D. That doesn't fit right now. Now, energetically, we're also being supported to change certain parts of how we relate with whatever we consume, how we experience ourselves with others and our environment. So you will feel a calling or pulling within yourself to adjust your intake, adjust what you're consuming, but it's done where you're getting rid of. So things stay there until it brings to the surface all the things that are still very active. Remember, all judgments, all labels, all definitions of yourself were just adopted, but they were also plugged in to provide a particular experience, but those experiences are not to stay there as something permanent. It's there just until it no longer serves, and then it starts to shift. So these are tools that we use, and a lot of times we're not so conscious of it because we're taught to not look at what is the underlying story, belief system, concepts, perception that we've adopted to provide a certain experience. Because the thing is, when you are paying attention to what's coming up, like I said, you write it all out, you get to go through it a lot quicker, so you don't have to stay there as long, you don't have to intensify it as much, you're able to see it much more with ease. You address all those things. Be easy on yourself, be okay with your life, and then make adjustments accordingly to bring it more in alignment. You're always in alignment to whatever serves. So as those things are taken care of, it no longer requires for you to hold on to that old version of yourself, the version that holds the extra weight or anything of that nature. And this applies to not just weight, but anything else that we've deemed ourselves as part of our experience. Mm-hmm. It's all of the above. So the thing is, if you okay, so we're talking about physical ailments. If you have a certain ailment, you address it, it goes away, then it comes back, and so forth. Is it to do with the fact of, what was some of those things again? Oh, judgment of pain hurts, fear of what may happen, or anything of that nature. Well, it's all of that. Soon as something comes back or something is playing out with you on a physical level, like ailment of some sort, you want to look at it and say, okay, what am I experiencing? Well, I have pain. How do I feel about the pain? Am I okay with the pain? Well, yeah, it's really taking over my experience. Or it's the pain brings up fear. Then as soon as you have pain that brings up fear or has a judgment about the pain, then you ask yourself, what's the fear about? What am I afraid of? Oh, I'm afraid I'm going to die. Or I'm afraid that I have to go for surgery. I'm afraid to do this or that somehow I'm going to be compromised. So you want to look at those things. Write out all those things. Because the only reason it's coming back up is to make the stage in such a way, not only to bring up all your old stories, perception, and belief systems, but it's also an indication at times that you have to redirect your life. For example, if you're so stressed and focused to control things and wanting to control everybody and everything, your higher self is saying, relax, girl or guy, but you're not acknowledging that. How do I slow you down? Okay, well, we can put pain, we can have certain things that come up that is going to slow you down and change your focus, allowing yourself to focus in one direction and let all the other things that you've been trying to control be more at ease. And then you're going to notice that those things that you were trying to control is kind of working out on its own, and the fact that you don't need it to control. So that then the pain and discomfort or whatever was going on served in that respect. So we have to really, really be attentive, because there's people that are on overdrive in their lives, and then it's not until they have some real strong ailment that stops them on their tracks to give them the opportunity to see I'm on overdrive or this and that, or the fact that they go through a review of their own life and say, how much am I stressing on everything? How much am I trying to control? How much of my focus is out of alignment? Because you're always in alignment, but the thing is, the alignment in most cases are that it's time to redirect. So I'm down this path and I'm trying to push this rock up a mountain or whatever it is through a lot of effort, and it's saying, no, don't have to go there anymore. That was a great exercise for a period, but now it's time to relax, redirect, look at something that's really more important for where you are. Because what's important here may not be important here and may definitely not be important there any longer. However, we have a tendency to hold on to it. And if we're holding on to it, what is it going to take for us to get to that position, point, or whatever, to say, okay, I'm going to let it go. I'm going to say, chillax, I'm going to let this go. So this is where the exercise is. You got pain coming back, and it's really impeding you, or anything of that nature. You ask yourself, okay, great. What are my stories around this? How do I feel about it? Well, I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to serve my kids, or I'm not going to be available. I'm afraid that I have to go through, surgery or this or that, or whatever it is. You want to look at all those fears. You want to look at not only fears, but also what am I experiencing? What am I doing? What choices am I making that, or putting focus on, that is time to adjust? Because that is no longer serving. That is an indication that I need to let go of something or adjust something of that nature. This is the beauty, because you didn't accidentally create something. You created for a construct to provide a certain experience. And that's how, so you have to really put the time and focus on and say, okay, what is this saying to me? You're not there to fix anything. You're not going to do something just to get better. You're going to see it that, let's put it this way. If a red light comes on and it's flashing, it may want your attention. So, okay, great. Do I go cover the red light? Do I go break it, that darn thing? Or do I say, okay, it's telling me something. Let me look at what it is. Let me put my focus in that direction. So that's the thing. So, is pain always a manifestation of fear? No, it's not. Like I was saying, this is why I was saying that it can be pain, it can be something that, yes, of course, it could be fear, but it could also be something that gets your attention to pay attention to something else, or to observe and make a shifting in yourself. So pain, like I was saying, that's why I was saying that pain in that case may say, okay, I'm trying to control so much, and if I am feeling comfortable, I'm going to be yelling at the kids, doing this, doing that. I'm just using examples here, or whatever, and I'm going to be hysterical or whatever it is. But now my focus is in the pain, and say, okay, all right, let me pay attention to this and see what the story is. But at the same time, it's really about backing off, coming off the regular path that you were on. The only reason we change path is because it's time to change path, especially now. And I'm not saying we're on an exercise changing path, because we're really on one path and we just plug in and remove whatever we want, but which we call that a flexible timeline. But at the same time, as we're going down that path, we're adjusting accordingly. So the fact that you created pain, was that a mistake? No, it was perfect orchestration to pay attention to what's behind it that needed to be addressed, or to bring up something much more powerful in the sense of redirecting yourself, or seeing where you put a lot of focus in to change it. So it's a perfect construct. It's not a mistake. And say, well, I made certain choices and I've been on drugs and alcohol and this and that, whatever. I'm just giving you examples. I've been a failure, or that in one way or another I did not achieve what I wanted to achieve. Well, the exercise could have been to try it out and to see, really, does it make? How many times we get convinced, that's still part of the experience, convinced that we need to go down this path, when that is all perceptually based, but a part of you is saying, no, I feel more natural to do this rather than that. And yeah, that may have more wealth, that may have more prestige, that may have acceptance from my family or my peers or whatever, but this is what I really want to do. So now it's saying, hey, it's time to redirect it, to bring yourself in alignment for the newest you, because you're always changing. What felt great at one point in time, going down that path and all the beautiful experiences that happened, needed to change. We've all experienced it. I've experienced it myself. I went through different stages in my life. Was I in the regular work world? Yes, for quite a long time. I mean, I started working at 10 years old, but at the same time, I did various different jobs and whatever else. I played various roles or whatever it is, but this is where I needed to go some time ago, and it keeps shifting along the way to enhance it or whatever it is. So my focus is in this, but that feels most natural. Now that I've been doing this, and like anybody, that you've been doing something that feels most aligned for you, and you have to be okay with saying, oh, I spent 50 years here or 20 years here or whatever, or 2 years, doesn't matter, because even if you went through extensive education, I've worked with people that were studying to be doctors, had graduated and had done it, but it didn't feel good to them. And they eventually, against all of the investment of time and money and family backing, they went a different direction. But they felt good to do that, even though there was a little bit of guilt, a little bit of whatever was playing out on the back end because of the time there. But the thing is, for them to do that life was not supportive. However, you're saying, well, then I made a mistake because I went down that path. No, while you were doing that path, all of those sequences of experience and so forth not only enriched your life, but also at the same time give you a deeper understanding how much time and energy and so forth that we can go down a particular path, so that when you are on a different path, you're already very enriched, and you go, no, I'm not going to just follow things. I'm going to feel it out, what feels most natural for me. And then moving forward is actually with much more alignment and ease, without creating the opposite to kind of redirect you. Okay? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, what was that again? Well, it's you doing it. Okay, so is it my higher self that's doing this to me, or doing it so that, to redirect you? You're doing it. You're a makeup of an innate physical expression coming from Gaia. You're a human entity that is also using its experience, gifts, and so forth, part of that, and your soul, which makes up the whole you. And from when we're saying the higher perspective, or what we call a higher self, you're tapping into the self that sees the big picture, that sees the construct, and is able to say, okay, this is where we're going, Elisa, or whoever, down this path. This is our new path. This is our new way to experience life. So, can we say it's just a higher self? Well, a higher self is all of us, okay? Sometimes it's just your body itself, but the body works with all parts of it, saying, okay, it's time to shift certain things. You have too much stress. You have so much chemical imbalance because of the stress, because of the fact that you get all hysterical or whatever, or the fact that, you're not putting your time to do this or that, whatever it is. So you got the body. Your human entity may say, okay, at certain points, all right, now it's time to use our skill sets, what we really have, instead of sitting back and putting our focus in that so it can play a part. Then the other part of it is your soul that is also saying, okay, you know, you came here to do what you came here to do, and you're not doing it 100%. We need to do it. But if we're going to do it, we got to get clear up all this other stuff that you have, all the baggage that you're carrying, all your old perceptions, all your stories, adopted ideas, and whatever else, belief systems, or whatever it is, that has all been made in the inverted stuff, inverted matrix, inverted 3D, inverted 2D, that is actually holding us back. So we need to create the stage so that all of this is coming to the surface so we can address it. That's basically how it works. Okay, so we determined that there are no mistakes. It's always perfect construct creations and experiences. We create exactly what we need each step of the way, only to advance us, only to make certain adjustments, only to complete certain old experiences, only, and there's many different things, only to let go of all of the stuff that we've been dragging along or putting attention on and focusing that no longer serves. Because the thing is, we're in a creation that is like the breath. Use the breath as a reminder. It's like the breath. In and out. We create an experience, we utilize it like the breath. We take a breath in, we take all the different energies within the breath, the oxygen in the breath, and then you breathe it out. You're not holding it. You're flowing out. And when you're breathing out the CO2, you're breathing out also the energies that you've applied to whatever it is, and anything that is no longer serving. This is how life is. Life is like the breath. You're a powerful creator. You create your experience, you utilize the experience, and then you let go of the experience. You're not here to attach. You're not here to carry. Now, certain things will be part of your experience for a long period of time, but other things will not. And this is the thing, you know, especially when people say, well, my nature is this. It's not. It's not. We've adopted that idea, we've labeled it, and we believe it to such a degree that we'll keep replicating. Your nature is free-flowing, playful, light, and it does not have, well, I'm intense or this and that. Yeah, we may have certain things that we've adopted in our encodement, but that even that's being cleared out. You're clearing it out, and also the energies are supporting you to clear it out much better. So the whole thing about mistakes, there are no mistakes. Perfect creations, perfect journeys, everything is perfect based on that. Now, I've been doing private sessions for 35 plus years, even though I haven't been doing very much of it lately. But over those 35 years, we, you know, especially when we were doing regressions at the time, I had people that came in with very, very strong focus on they made a mistake in their lives. The mistake was, I should have done A instead of B, but I did B. And my life is a ruin now because of B. Okay? And, or maybe not a ruin. Maybe it's not what I wanted. It's not the easiness I wanted, or whatever it is. So when I was doing the regressional stuff with them, we would go back to the point where A, B, and C was available as a choice. And I said, before that, I said, which one did you feel it was better? Well, I should have done A, for example. Okay, so we go back to where those three choices were made. Let's just take one isolated one. And when we went back, we made a new choice. Choice A. We have the capacity to do that in your mind's eye. You can go back and look at that time you made the choice, and now you make a new choice. You make the choice you thought you should have made. Then, in that choice, you see the sequence of things playing out. Now, it may not be so easy if you've never done it before, but when you're looking back, see yourself moving 1 year later after the choice, then 5 years later, or whatever it is. You will notice that the path that it's going in is not quite the path that matches. Every time I've done it over the years, Everyone said, after coming out of it, I made the perfect choice. Yes, because the thing is, what we do is we make choice B, for example, but then we glorify choice A, the one we didn't make. Not only glorify it, see it as utopia. See it as the best of all it is. But that's a perception, an ego projection. But in realistic, that was not how it was going to play out. Because once you made that choice A and you started going down this timeline, it would have altered a lot of different things for you that would have missed out on some really key opportunities. Would have missed out certain experiences for you to become you that you are. To create any form of completion that you may have carried over from a past life or anything of that nature. So this is the thing. So to understand, so each time we went there, we noticed very much so that it was the choice that was best suited for them, even though they carried for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years the idea. I've had even people that had chosen certain partners and said, I married the wrong person. I should have married the other one. And even when we did that regression and we walked it through and saw it, it was completely different than they imagined. It actually, they got to see that that wasn't the best scenario. The choice they made was the best scenario because it created a certain part of experience. Because remember, every choice you make here creates a sequence of changes. And would you be where you are now? Now, of course, it's unique for everybody. Not everybody has to have a polarized part or anything of that nature. It's going to be whatever it is. Really, that's what we have to look at and say, well, it's going to provide whatever best provides you, whatever you require to get there. Because we're all individual expressions that are designed in such a fashion that we create accordingly to enrich us and to bring us forth. Now, even myself looking at my life and saying, okay, I came onto the planet, I came here with quite a bit of consciousness, or at least my soul did, and it was really streaming it into my mental consciousness at that point in time. So I could see a lot of things that other people couldn't see, which I thought was pretty normal for me to see it, but and everybody else did, but it wasn't quite the case. But here I am, came in through a family, very heavily religious, very constructed, controlled, coming from a part of the world that actually had a very closed-minded viewpoint with a lot of traditions and so forth, and coming in through a family of massive polarity, alcoholism and abuse or whatever it is, and you're saying, why would you make that choice? Because we do have a choice. But that choice allowed me to not only experience and understand the human experience, and including everything during the journey and all the things that I've done, but it also gave me an opportunity, regardless what's going on around me, I had to self-ground. I had to use my inner resources and ability to be able to function through all of that polarization, through all of what was opposite to what I was feeling, experiencing, and representing. That carried me through all these years. Because even though what I'm sharing with you wasn't something I can communicate with others before. It's different now, but again, there's still restriction to how many people are ready for it. To have that discussion, there wasn't the playmates for it. So I had to keep it in myself, and I would share tidbits here and there. But I did not look at the world and say, I need to comply or I need to be part of that world. No, I created my own world And my own world was the highest expression because we all have the highest expression, and that was it. Are we like perfectly in all of that? No. But at the same time, that was very rock solid and allowed the perfect opportunity to be a best of service to all the playmates that are coming on board, opening their eyes, be able to see, and to be able to connect with themselves more and more. So we didn't make a mistake coming here, because sometimes we put that in. We didn't make a mistake who we chose to play with all along the way. We did not make a mistake on the choices we made or didn't make. It was all perfect. All perfect. So, hopefully we got that. No mistakes. Just perfect constructions or shaping of a reality to give us exactly what we need each step of the way. Right now, it's not we're fixing mistakes. We're completing whatever we created without the labeling and definitions any longer, because we're letting all of that stuff go and see the beauty of all those choices, the beauty of A versus B or B versus A of path and whoever we chose to play with. Yes, if you're going to go back and listen, there are people that say, oh, if only I could go back to that time, you know, and I'd make a new choice. Okay? If you envision, say that you made a new experience and said, okay, I can go back in time and stay there and redo it over again. I can tell you right now, with the consciousness that you have, the state that you're in, and the frequency that you are now resonating, for you to repeat this, even in a new fashion, would not be easy for you to do. You would abandon it in no time. You'd say, no, I want to move forward. Why? Because you would have to go back to all of these energies that were there at the time. You would go back with all the playmates who were there. Even if you made new choices and played with different playmates, whatever it is, you have to understand the collective consciousness was very different along the way. For you to repeat this path completely new with the consciousness, yes, you would have plugged in certain things, but how much interest would truly be there from your core being? How much of it would be truly something you can say, I'm going to repeat my last 20 years or 30 years or 40 years? Because the thing is, you can say, well, I'm going to go back. Well, remember the movie there, Back to the Future? You say, okay, I'm going to go back here, make one little change, and then move back to the future and just observe the changes. If you watch the movies, the trilogy there, you would have noticed that each time something was changed, it would be a completely different experience. And you could say, well, okay, something would have been better, but it also, was it really what was going to serve? Now, I can't say that the movie reflected it correctly 100% anyways, but at the same time. So here we are. No mistakes. All's perfect. Failure. Can we fail? For us to adopt the idea of fail, say, I want to do this. I want to go from A to B. And if you don't get the B from A, then you failed. Well, the question is, if I didn't get to B, was B really where I needed to be? Or was that just an idea, concept, or something that I adopted from somewhere? Or did I create it from that state and saying B was most attractive, but B's not there, and I don't know if it was all that attractive? Because this whole idea of failure and success, you're always successful in creating what you need, when you need it, how you need it. Failure is just an idea, a concept. I started my business and I failed. Giving you an example. I started a relationship and I failed. No, you started a relationship based on whatever term and viewpoint. But somehow, there was a lot of other things that you could learn from it that needed to serve you in one way or another. So guess what happened? You created the opportunity for you to experience it. You created the opportunity to be able to say, okay, hey, here we are. At times, we're not ready for certain things. Other times, there's many more things we need to adjust or create experiences around. So you can't call it a failure. You failed in life. Or people have said that you failed. No, you were perfect, good, powerful creator that have created within polarities while all of that was still alive and well, which we're still playing with right now, even though it's not necessary, hasn't been necessary since 1987. And of course, it's becoming less and less because now we don't even have the inverted matrix that kept reflecting the need for polarity, for pain, or whatever it is. So we can't look at life and say, well, I failed. No, you look at life and say, okay, I created experiences. I've had my experiences. I've learned certain things. I got to experiment. I got to be adventurous. I got to do all of this stuff. Great, but right now, how do I do this? What do I want to do next? What's my next thing? How do I play from here? But if we put the idea, not only that we made mistakes and that we have, this whole idea that in some way that I failed, and you bring that up, because look, you say you want to go on a diet, for example, and you do it, but then, you binge. Did you fail? You just gave yourself another opportunity to get another taste of it, to see, maybe I don't have all that willpower. Maybe I got to look at the story behind it. Why did I binge? Because if you look at it, why did I binge? You say, okay, I want to understand. You're not going to say, I binged because I'm stupid. I binged because of this or that. You're going to say, okay, what was I feeling when I binged? What was my attention on? How was I being driven by that? Because that will bring to the surface, of course, write it down, will bring to the surface an old story, an old thing that still hasn't been addressed. That's great. You get to address it. You acknowledge it, you appreciate it, you love it, and you let it go. But at the same time, before you even do that, say, okay, what else is tied into that? You want to look at all the different parts of it. So, did you fail the diet? No, you're still using the diet to uncover more of the older versions, maybe patterns, could be whatever. Saying, well, I don't feel good about myself, so I'm going to binge because while I'm binging, I'm going to feel satisfied, but then feel like crap afterwards because afterwards I'm going to judge myself because I failed again. This is the whole idea of success, fail, success, fail. The thing is, if you have a particular goal, you say, okay, let me take the steps going into that direction to outcome the goal. For example, you're here. Let's do here again. And your goal is to be here. Well, you know how they talk about short-term goals, long-term goals, all of that stuff. So you're here. Remember, you're going to make a goal. Right here. This is your goal. Whatever that may be. Lose weight, make money, get a certain career, certain relationship, put in savings, whatever that may be. Okay? Doesn't matter. There's lots of different goals. And we're not that many months away from, making New Year's resolutions, I guess they call them. So here's your goal. You made your goal. This goal was created while you were here. Based on the state that you were here, based on the energy, focus, attention, and possibly a lot of judgment or whatever it is here. Saying, in a lot of cases, you say, I'm not liking where I am here. This is what do I want to achieve. So you want to lose weight? You say, okay, lose weight. I want to lose weight. The thing is, this is what I perceive. But you're not going to go there and say, this is where I'm going to go from A to B. You're going to look at where I am right now. This is appealing. As you start walking along that path, meaning every day, week, month, whatever, along the way, also minutes, seconds, because things are changing very quickly. It's not that you're adjusting the goal, you're following the path, but your obsession is not the goal. It's about living each moment and adjusting accordingly, because by this point, your energy, your focus, your consciousness, everything, even the environment has changed so that this goal is not that attractive anymore. So now you may change it or take it out of the equation and say, okay, I'm going to see what else I'd like to make instead of. So what I'm saying is, you can set the goal if that's what you believe. Really, it's an intent. My intent is here. I'd like to be here based on where I am now, but I am open to be flexible. I am open, and when I say flexible, not to fall back, flexible in adjusting and shaping your path, because there's so much you gain, learn, and expand along the way that this may just be the dangling carrot, but by the time you even get closer to that, it's not even appealing any longer. And that could start right here. It may not be appealing tomorrow, right? Because for you to make a decision right here that this is your goal, based on whatever is your perception at this point in time, may seem like 100% right on the mark. And saying, okay, perfect. And guess what? For you to fully appreciate this, you would have to maintain the state of consciousness and frequency of that when you made the goal, to be able to fully appreciate it to the degree that you made it. This is why you have to allow yourself to advance along the way. Make adjustments according, like any path that you made. Learn and experience every part of every step on the path. Use that along the way for that. And not so concerned about the goal. It's about enriching yourself each step of the way. Enriching, becoming more empowered, becoming much more conscious of your creation and your experience and your interactions with others. So when you're talking about failing, really it's just an illusionary, inverted matrix idea. Good, bad, right, wrong, fail, success. You can't really do anything that in one way or another is not providing you opportunities and experience. Do we need to stay in the same spot? No. This is why the nudging and the purging that's going on, pushing out all of the older stuff that was enriching at one point, was it very experientially mind-opening or whatever it is at that point in time, but that doesn't mean it still applies now. Maybe the core of that experience or whatever was gained for that experience may be something that you're stronger, more powerful, more engaged in, but it's not really the experience or whatever was played out at the time. Okay, so that's failure. So we got it? No failure. Right, Kimberly? Next thing is guilt and regret. Very powerful. Some of you guys, maybe not too many, maybe one or two in the whole population, was raised, what's that, sorry? Okay. Many of us may have never had that problem. And I'm being playful here. Maybe one or two out of, the billions that are on the planet right now have not been raised around guilt. Feeling guilty that you have what you have or don't have what you have. Feeling guilty that you're not sacrificing your life. Feeling guilty that in some way anything that you do that is not matching what others expect of you. Feeling guilty that you are wanting to make your own choices, wanting to go a certain direction, feeling guilty that in some way that, what like people call it, I'm selfish, or something of that nature that you may say to yourself. Guilt is very fundamentally a control structure, all created in the inverted matrix, inverted 3D, 2D. There's nothing to be guilty about. You make choices. You engage with others. You do certain things. They may have certain experiences along the way that in one way or another may have caused possibly what somebody would refer to as harm, or the fact that you did not step in and assist somebody or something of that nature. Now, based on where you're at, based on some part of whatever the individual that you're going to engage with or whatever was there, it was not conducive. Even if you were caught up in the fear or whatever it is, it created that. So the guilt is really the label that we've put in, and you have to look at it and say, okay, how do I feel about guilt? Because guilt is heavy. Guilt I wasn't there for somebody. Guilt that, I invested all this money, time and energy, and I did not pursue that relationship, did not pursue that career, I did not pursue helping whatever, right? Those are kind of the stuff that we take on as an idea. Okay? So guilt and regret are huge in the inverted matrix, inverted 3D, 2D, which many of us, like I was saying, have come through family dynamics that use that as the fundamental control system. So, yeah, I have to feel bad that you went through that, because you shouldn't have gone that. You shouldn't have gone through being coerced or manipulated through guilt and feeling that you have to regret or whatever it is. I'm just being playful here because realistically, that was a cool experience. Feeling the heaviness, the restriction of what guilt and so forth. Does it serve you? Absolutely not. Does it provide you what you need to experience moving forward? Absolutely not. That's from the control structure that we've adopted in that inverted matrix, inverted 3D. You are being you, and you're playing with other aspects of you. Now, of course, you could say, well, I did harm to somebody. Well, please understand this, and I know this may be rocking some of you people. You cannot do anything to anyone unless there's a mutual agreement from a super conscious level. If you want to do something malicious, I'm not saying that, because for you to play a malicious role, you have to lower your frequency. That may have been okay at one point in time that you could do that, but right now you may say, oh, I can't do that, because you're now at a higher frequency. You're not even giving power to the polarization, okay? And don't get all wrapped up in karma and all that stuff, because that doesn't exist either. But at the same time, when we're looking at all of that, when we're moving forward, you can play a particular role that could be negative towards somebody. And like I said, if there's not a mutual agreement saying, yes, I need that experience. I need that as part of my staging, as shaking, as so polarized it may be, that's what I need for me to make a shift. And vice versa. Somebody playing a role towards you that would have been negative. For you to experience a negative role, it would have to be a mutual agreement for you to have that experience for whatever purpose that served you at that time and may have served you along the way at different stages. For example, somebody going into a relationship where the relationship is abusive. Yes, you can blame everybody for the partners or whoever came into your life for playing an abusive role, or you acknowledge and appreciate the role that they played. Thank them and love them, but look at it, okay, what did that so-called abusive role play out for me? How did I feel? What came up? What experience did I gain from this? And so forth, so that you can get what the seeds in it, get the root essence of it, and then terminate it. You may feel disempowered. So now you're going to have people play the role of, say, a victimizer. Say you played the role of disempowered or victim. Now that became part of your sequence of experience. But at some point, now you're looking at it and say, wait a minute, that does not serve me any longer. It's time to let go of this victim state, because that's just the role. It's not real. It's just a role. And you play the role. So they're going to play an abusive role as the victimizer, and you're playing the victim, and you go, hey, I'm done with this victim thing. But if you see it for the perfection in it, that it's just a role, then guess what? You're not going to get caught up in this whole dance of the past of saying, oh, you know, my life is ruined because of these people, because of this person, because of my whatever. You're going to see it for what it is, an absolute perfection creation that gave you the opportunity to experience it perfectly. And you are where you are today. So the thing is, if you played a negative role, or you did not, you know, I regret that I didn't go down path A instead of B, then that's just a concept, an idea, and so forth that you're giving power to that does not serve you, and you're going, okay, let me look at it. It's not about what happened before. It's about right now, what do I really choose? We're going into a state of purging all that stuff, but we're becoming more empowered, and it becomes very powerful for us to realize that and to be able to utilize it. So guilt, feeling guilty for others, feeling guilty, you know, for whatever, and then regretting it, is heavy, heavy, heavy. Any of us that are feeling it, it burdens, it lowers your frequency, it lowers your state of consciousness, it lowers your potentiality, or limits your potentiality. It is heavy. This is why right now it's coming up much more powerful, so we can drop it. Not because we have an issue with it, it's because it doesn't serve us anymore. So at that point, you can acknowledge the heaviness of regret and guilt, love it or thank it, love it, and set it free so that you become free. And that's the thing. Because if you are giving power to mistakes, failure, guilt, regret, it will continue to control you. It is the foundation used to shape you. It is the resource building material of your reality. All of that comes to your current state, and it limits you in a very powerful way. So this is the thing. So, yeah. Okay, so the statement made that I feel that I failed because I did not have higher experiences as others. Okay, so that again brings you up to the comparison to others. We all create whatever we need to create. We all experiences whatever best serves us. We make agreements along the way, even from coming here, but along the way we do the same thing. We're always adjusting. So look at it this way. Some people already started to have higher experiences from day one, some many decades later, some just recently, some are just about to scratch the surface. And the fact that you're listening to this, you're already scratching the surface to it. Now, does one make it better than the other? Or do we need to say that I failed because I did not have those at the time that somebody else had it? No. You have to understand, each one has always the opportunity to shift it when that level of readiness. And what is readiness? Readiness is accessing, first of all, completing all the levels of experiences to play various roles with other individuals, because we do make agreements to play various roles or to hold a certain state for not only ourselves, but for whoever playmates we have participating with us. So you may turn around and say, well, I'm going to play the game with my family or business or work or whatever for a period of time. But now I got to the point where I don't see myself holding on to that. And now I'm ready to open it. So did you fail? No, you constructed it and you elongated it, you extended it to a point where it brought you where you are today. Now, you've gained a lot of other experiences in between. It doesn't matter how many years old you may be or not. It does not matter. What matters is that whatever was played out and not played out was perfect to where you are now. Now you're saying, okay, great. I acknowledge this. I understand this. Let me take the steps forward. Yes, I didn't have to have my higher experiences. Yes, I did not, use my highest consciousness. But yeah, I had a blast playing the game. And I know you're going to say, well, I didn't have a blast. Well, that's just you labeling it that it wasn't. Because when you actually see that you're on a playground, it's a virtual, holographic game, or what we see as solid, it's just holographic, including your physicality. You're going to see it that this planet and all other planets are playgrounds. Your physicality is the part that plays on that playground. You're only using what looks like the physicality that represents the physicality, where just a sequence of code using different spectrums of light to be able to have a certain experience and to create a certain level of realism. Okay? Depending on what playground you are, your realism will vary. The capacities of what you can do will vary. The polarization may not exist on certain planets. On a lot of planets, they don't. If they were there, it was long gone. But you're here because this is the spot for you. And that's it. So if you got this idea that I failed, write it down. I feel I failed because I did not have higher experiences like others. That's your story, because you're comparing. So why am I comparing? Why is it important? I am who I am. I am exactly where I need to be. Because if it's no different than comparing, say, oh, look, somebody came from a wealthy family with a lot of privileges and so forth, and I came in from a family that did not have anything, that we lived in poverty, or that I didn't have the same opportunities, I did not have the same benefits, for example, right? Well, that particular individual chose that one because that was what they needed this time, and this is what they chose because they may have had the other option, the other life. And you may have had that in previous lives and say, in this life, I want to see what that's like. And grow amongst that so-called resistance, restrictions, or whatever it is. See, look at it this way. You get to exercise more of your empowerment when you're coming from a state, for whatever time it takes, where you are restricted, where you're not giving yourself the privileges to have the ease, where you have to resort, not only, you don't resort from what's outside around you and whoever's playing with you, you're resorting from you, from that core essence, regardless what the screen is displaying. The screening meaning the world reality around you. It doesn't matter who you're playing with or anything of that nature, because when you're growing from all of those restrictions, you set the stage for more empowerment for yourself. Now, there are going to be individuals that came in with empowerment or a level of empowerment, but also came in through a sequence of ease. Well, that was their choice, and it was that. Did they make a mistake? Did they fail? No. Each one is going to have a different experience. This is why we all have different signatures, different choice points, and so forth, and our choices change along the way. So you want to look at that. So write all that stuff down, because comparison, you can't compare. We're all unique. We all know that our journeys are different. Our journeys are all perfect, not only for us, but for the collective, because we can't have every single piece of the puzzle, because you're a piece of the puzzle like everybody else, all being the same. We create variance. And each piece of the puzzle makes the whole, which is the landscape of this collective playground. And right now we're going through a major, major transformation. Not only in the playground and all the individuals play, but within you, because it starts within you. So that's the thing. So just pay attention to that. Okay? So as much as it created the illusion, it controlling you, and you use that as your foundation, with what we just talked about and your own personal realization, it does not have to control you. So that means no matter what I've, adopted along the way here, it does not control me here anymore. And this thing, mistakes, gone. There's no such thing. It's all perfect creation. Failures, no possible way, because you're basically succeeding regardless. Somebody says, well, look, I created a miserable life. You were successful. You were a powerful creator that created what you represented or labeled as a miserable life. What is a miserable life? It's just life. It may be polarized, it may be unconscious, it may be whatever, but that was perfect. Remember, this is like an amusement park. You come in and play, there's no mistakes. There's no experience that's better than the next. We start where we start. We go through the stages of having those experiences, but we're always upgrading. We're just upgrading a lot faster now, that's all. That's the difference. There's nothing to feel guilty about. It doesn't matter where the family's at, where your friends are, what you did or didn't do. Thank, love everyone, and let it be. And the thing is, regret, there's nothing to regret. You created everything perfect. You played with whoever you needed to play. You took on whatever role served you, and it was all perfect. That's the beauty. So what happens is, then it does not have control over you. You're basically going into the driver's seat, knowing that you're the driver, and be able to maneuver better. Because we've been always driving, but sort of autopilot driving. And unfortunately, fortunately, you've created and used part of that. So that's the thing. So now, last thing, before we go into. So this is now, which we also call the present. Like Kimberly says all the time, be in the moment. Let's write down moment. Moment, present. That's pretty messy down there. Okay, so this is now, this is your past. So here we are, sequence of experiences, you're right here. Present moment. Yes, absolutely. Important to be in the present moment. Because the present moment is all that is. If you're envisioning yourself in the past, you're recreating a version of that usually is never the same anyways, because you can't recreate it, because anything that you've experienced, say here, has very different building blocks than you have access to here. So not only the interpretation is going to change, but the energies of that time was very different. The energies and the consciousness of the collective was very different. Your energy, your consciousness was very different. So all you can create is a replica within your mind, and then you plug it in here. Even when you're in the present. So if you can be in the present and feel that you failed, that you feel guilt, regret, or that you made mistakes. Or still looking at, what did I just do there? Looking at and saying, okay, you keep thinking of that choice point or whatever it is. So when you're in the present moment, being truly present in the moment is about being there. There is nothing that you are projecting forward. There's nothing that you're bringing into your thought patterns or anything of that nature that happened or possibly can happen. It's just a matter of being present, being there with what you have available there. Yeah, you can look at it and say, oh, look, I'm looking at my world and my world is a reflection of my old. Yeah, absolutely. You know, your reality is a reflection of the old many things, but the next moment's already old again, even if you were current. But what you're looking at in the present moment is like, I am present. I see what I have, and now I can work with what I have. Even though it was shaped from the past or shaped from a different state of consciousness, I'm going to start using and looking at and making adjustments accordingly. So you're present in the present moment is you're now tuning into and saying, this is who I am. My collection of experiences that I've gained, so I've reached more enlightenment and I had my polarization, whatever that may have been, whatever that experience was. But I am a combination of everything that I've created, experienced, didn't do, whatever it is, I am here now. You're not focusing in any piece of it, you're just present in the most current version of yourself. Because when you're experiencing these things, you're creating versions of yourself based on the frequency, the consciousness, the collective, whatever it is, and you play whatever role. Sometimes there's a facade involved, sometimes there is, a certain role playing or whatever it is, a certain involvement, a focus, or anything of that nature. Those are versions of you. You want the most current version of you. The most current version of you is you right now, this moment, and it does not reflect anything. Future, past, or anything of that nature. You're not even putting any focus on what was or anything of that nature. You're not even looking at that. You're basically in the moment and say, okay, I am present. I feel what I feel. I breathe what I breathe. I am in this full present. What do I feel from my heart, from my essence, that I want to bring into my reality that will shift this reality? Not that you have an issue, because you don't want to have an issue where you are right now. If you're living in the streets, just giving you an example, just an intensified, because many people are. If you're even on the streets, you're not going to look at yourself and say, well, how did I get here? Well, you got there through many different things that you may have constructed. Did you fail? Did you make a mistake because you're on the streets? No, you brought yourself there for that experience. So I am on the streets. Right now, connecting with myself, I am on the streets. This is what I have available. What do I choose to really experience from this moment? And if you feel like, yeah, I'm done with the street experience, homeless, whatever you want to call it, okay, how can I shift this? So you envision yourself shifting away from that, creating something different. But you create something different not to override where you're at or to compare it. You're just bringing forth what you feel within yourself. Because remember, we're not in manifestation anymore. I know we still use it a lot, but manifestation is copying what you may have had or others have or anything of that nature and say, I want to bring that back in, or I want to create something that combines a few things. You're in creation mode. So in creation, what do I choose to create? What feels most harmonious? Is it going to be the mansion? Maybe not. What feels most conducive for me? In some cases, it's being, well, I could be okay here for a little while longer. Or I choose to, say, go to a community home or whatever it is at that point in time, so I can play with other playmates, I can connect with other people, or do, offer my services or whatever it is. You're going to feel within yourself, because whatever you're imagining is for that point in time. And then you can take the steps accordingly to shape it. But you're always tuning in and being in the moment and say, okay, what's next? I feel like this, then I feel like that. And when you say feel, I'm not talking about emotional feeling, I'm talking about an inner guidance feeling. It's a big difference between the two. An emotional feeling is polarized. Emotional feeling, can sway very, very much so. But we're talking about the feeling of a knowing. A knowing is like, I feel guided to do this. I feel this is where I'm being drawn to, whatever it is. And there's no right, wrong, good about where you're drawn, because sometimes you're drawn to what looks like a negative experience, but that's only temporary for you to have that experience. But eventually, there is not going to be any positive, negative experience. It's all from your true essence. Everything is just an experience, and it's a holistic experience where it doesn't, support the polarized part of it. So when you're in the present, when you're in the moment, just observe where your focus is, what's coming up for you. And if it's coming up something from the past, you want to address it. Write it down and address it. When I say address it, first of all, see what it is. Acknowledge. Inquire how it serves or doesn't serve. Look at the story, look at the perception, belief, or idea that was adopted or plugged in as part of your experience. Or, a lot of times it could be the whole thing of mistakes, or a mistake that you may have made, or something of that nature. If it comes up, then say, again, write it out. I'm choosing to be present. There was no mistakes. It brought me where I am right now. I am enriched. I have a deeper understanding. I got to deep experience whatever I experience. It's like anything in your life. You go through the journey to learn, to grow. Okay? How many of us have gone through school? Just to give you an example. And through school, it was torture. It was like, it didn't feel natural. You had to memorize all this stuff. You had to put a lot of attention and focus on certain things, or whatever it may have been. But then you learned a lot of things. Yeah, it could be a lot of it the inverted stuff, but it gave you a sequence of experiences. But that was just that. It was just the experience of it. And then when you're free out of it, you choose where you want to go, what you want to do. And that's the thing, that's the beauty of it. You're there to learn and grow and expand and become a grander aspect of yourself. So allow yourself the opportunity to do so. So in the moment, you tune in. You tune in and say, okay, what feels most natural for me right now? What do I... And if anything comes up that's polarized or anything else, write it out and then address it, and then go back in again. And if you want to just practice, just keep focusing on the present moment without bringing in any concerns, fears, old stories, what if, who's involved, who's not involved. You don't plug any of that in. You're present. Because the moment you're fully present, you're now accessing the highest aspect of yourself, and you're able to communicate with your higher self much more clearly, and you can decide where you go from there. And that's just the next step, and then you're doing that along the way. Okay, Kimberly, was there anything else that needed to be addressed that I did not cover? You lost the chat on YouTube? Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay, hold it for a sec. So anybody that's on YouTube, Kimberly lost the chat on YouTube, so she won't be able to check, but she has a question on Facebook. So go ahead with that question. Okay. All right. Kimberly's making some adjustments on her computer. See if we can. Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, I guess we're talking about destiny. Is there a destiny? There's an option A and B. Are we do we have soul contracts and things like that for A being versus B, and all? Is everything pre-done? Pre. Okay, with all outcomes. That used to be the case in the sense of everything is pre-planned and so forth. Now, when I say pre-planned, there's always wiggle room, if they call it, in between. That used to be the case. So I'm just going to change the page and so I don't have to erase everything. Saying, okay, I'm born here. This is birth. And prior to birth, you're saying, okay, prior to birth, I make all these soul agreements with other souls, like soulmates, possibly twin soul if there's one involved in the sense where you're actually going to meet, but the twin souls were always connected, possibly soul families and whatever else. And then when I say soulmates, I mean, I'm not going to explain all of that stuff because it takes a bit of it to explain, and I have explained it in the podcast. I think I have the link in the description for the podcast where you can find the one that talks about all the different soulmates. You have soulmates, twin soul, also referred as twin flame, soul families and so forth, how they all relate and work and so forth. So you can get all the details there. I don't have to repeat it. All right. So here at birth, do we plan everything? So we're going to meet certain playmates or soulmates at certain times or whatever it is. We're going to have certain experiences and so forth. And then, of course, we have used to have multiple timelines. So we would, at any point in time, coming here, you would map out a potential journey that we would start off with. So you would choose certain individuals. For example, your parents, your siblings, if there are any involved, extended family, various friendships, and any other soulmates that you would meet, say, in the beginning at birth. Okay? And then first few years, whatever it is. So you map it out so that you can start down the journey. Now, the way it was before, depending on what you learned, what shift that you experienced, you would shift timelines. So say you were down here and you were going down here, then you would shift to the next timeline because these experiences that would have been pre-mapped up as markers were not suited because you went to another frequency or a different level of consciousness, so you would have this sequence. But at some point you may go up again. That's how it was before. So we may have, say for example, you were going to meet this individual here, okay? And this was a soulmate. This soulmate you've arranged to meet if you were still on this timeline and you still did not make a shift, because they would play a particular role that would aid you to go to the next level. But somehow, through your journey, you gained what you needed, so you went up here. So you ended up meeting this particular individual or sequence of circumstances, and this person was no longer required unless they changed at some point and elevated to another level. Some follow you in the sense, but the same thing, is it all mapped out and saying, well, those are all potentialities depending on the progress that you make, what choices and so forth that you make that enhance you and how long it takes you to be in those sequences. That's how it used to be. The way it is now, so that's right now, we are on a one timeline that we have nothing mapped out in the sense of any permanency of any sort. So what we are, say that we are here, and we changed all of this. So we're here, we're plugging in soulmates, playmates, whatever you want to call it, circumstances, situations, choices, whatever you need. You plug it in, pull it out. This is why relationships are a lot more flexible now. They don't stay as long at times. Some do because they grow together. But certain individuals come in. For example, you're not going to plug in this particular individual unless by the time you got there, this individual matches you where you're at now. If you made more progress or made less progress, then it doesn't match. So somebody else would be in line, or you plug in somebody else, or you make a new agreement. So you're constantly, from a superconscious level, making adjustments and agreement. So do we have a destiny? No, you're making things as you go along at this point. So are you destined to meet somebody? For example, there's going to be some people that you think, okay, great, they will be instrumental in your life. Okay? Like if I took my life, I had a particular plan of living life a different way than I've lived. As far as I was concerned, single life was all I wanted. Focus on doing this type of work and not get involved with all the other stuff. However, along the way, based on what I required, which was from my superconscious to have a certain experience, I brought in a certain individual. Polarized or otherwise, doesn't matter where the frequencies were, it created the perfect environment forever. Plugged in a couple of kids in there too, and whatever else. So that journey went for a decade, 2 decades and a half. And then it needed to shift. So another relationship came in with not the intention of having a relationship. So it went there, and it had a sequence of experiences in that, which elevated and engaged me to understand the human experience more, but also at the same time to have whatever was there. Was that one destined? Okay, so the first one, say this was the first relationship, for example, number 1. This was a requirement that was kind of agreed upon based on what I had already decided that I was going to do. And because it was back some time ago and there was not as much flexibility and it was still beneficial, then you say, okay, number 1 is suited, even though from a other perspective saying, nah, I'm not interested in this because it's too colorful. Well, when I say too colorful, it's not my perfect match in the sense of the way I was perceiving it, but it was to provide a certain sequence, but it also provided some kids. But that went down this path, and then this one no longer served in the same fashion, and then another one stepped in. Was this number 2 a requirement? No. But because of the experiences I had there, and there were certain experiences I did not gain, and some rigidity I may have had, which I did, of letting go through certain belief systems at the time that I needed to stay there because of the kids, whatever it is, that I extended it, and this relationship was required to change things a certain way. So that, in fact, number 2 was required. But it was optional. It would have not been plugged in if other things were to change. Could have been somebody else, could have been no one. This is the thing. Number 3 came in here. Now, you have to understand, for number 3 to come in at this point in time, and there was a gap with nobody. For number 3 to come in, it had to be of service for both parties, but it needed to be where I was at. Now, number 3 had a factor to it too, because number 3 had to go through certain changes to create a match, but I also had to go through certain changes and realizations to be a match. And the match was, okay, great, now we're going to walk down this path, being conducive to each other, contributing to each other in whatever fashion, because we're very different. So, were they all mapped out? No. Some were on the fly along the way, but it was optional. So the thing is, if we need to get to a certain level and we're not achieving it in its natural fluidity, then we will plug in. For example, if we're not going into an empowered state, we will bring in circumstances that will make us feel more disempowered. Bring in certain people that would play a victimizer role and make you feel more disempowered, so that you actually get to the point where you feel empowered. So these are the things. So nothing is fixed, and nothing's fixed moving forward. There is no future. We're creating it along the way. Now look at what's happening in the world. We have many levels of lockdowns, many levels of all these projected fears, which, if your eyes are open, doesn't make absolutely any sense, but at the same time, it's creating an environment, an experience that really serves in a powerful way for the collective to experience a shift. Polarized and otherwise, restricted and otherwise, because certain things come in because there's such a rigidity of not letting go of the old stuff, or what we put a lot of focus in, or security and all that stuff, that coming out of that is hard. So you need the jolting. It's like no pain, no gain. That's not true. But sometimes we need the pain, what we call pain, to get our attention before we actually make a shift. Because we believe that I'm stuck here. So this is why sometimes we get some pretty intense experiences to nudge us, sometimes get a kick in the ass type of thing to keep moving. Because we stayed parked for too long. That's the thing. All right. Hopefully that explained that. Was there anything else, Kimberly? I can barely hear you. Can you put your mic? Now I can. Okay. You're muffled. You're muffled. I can't hear you. Still there? Well, you sound really, really muffled. Okay, there you go. Now it's good. Perfect. Go ahead. What if everything is perfect? What was the rest of it? Okay, so if everything is perfect, why does it matter to have or not have the vaccine? Well, the only reason that somebody would make a choice to have, say, the vaccine or anything of that nature, right, is because whatever that will provide will be what's perfect for them. Now, somebody making a choice to say, I'm going to have that vaccine, they're at that state of consciousness where they feel that if I have it, there's security. Or the fact that I feel that if I have to be forced to take it, that I can go into that disempowered state, or the fact that I can have fear around it, or whatever it may be on that. So yes, everything is perfect. You will only have the experience you have. So if you have the vaccine, you will still either have a negative experience or a positive experience. If you don't have it, you still can have the positive or the negative. It does not affect it. However, most cases, if we're putting a lot of power in the fear of it, it can provide a very colorful experience, only to judge. See, the thing is, everything is perfect, but at the same time, we're also in a growth pattern. We're going through a transformation. So for us to shift our attention, our focus, our reality, our creation, certain things come about to help us navigate more clearly. You made the choice, and you're constantly making the choice to bring the highest level of yourself, to go through the motion of expanding, growing, becoming more powerful essence of sourceness in this empowered playground that you've come here to play. So you're going to bring all of this stuff in to enhance you along the way for what you came here to do, and also what you came here to experience, and to achieve a stronger connection and growth of the essence that you are. That's the reason. You don't plug in anything for willy-nilly. Yeah, okay, everything is, can be an experience, absolutely, 150%. It's truly just an experience. But each of these things that you plug in at any point in time will serve you to expand. So right now, a lot of people are getting their ass kicked or having some intensity or whatever it is, emotions coming up, old stories coming up, old focus points and whatever else are coming to. That's you giving yourself the opportunity from a higher perspective to see certain things, let it go, so that you can emerge in what you decided to emerge along the way. That's the only thing. Okay, hopefully that made it clear enough there, Kimberly. Okay. Okay, go ahead. You're muffled again. I can't hear you. Go again. Try now. There you go. That was better. I can now, yes. Okay, so the guilt of suicidal or the thought of suicidal? Okay. Oh, I should have done that, I shouldn't have, the could or could have. Okay. So even in this situation, say for example, suicide, okay? If there was a certain intervention required by you or someone, then that intervention would have been there. But regardless of the intervention, the individual that commits the suicide, for example, is the exit point that they choose. It's still up to them. It doesn't matter what you do. And I've seen this time and time again where people have done so much to support somebody so that they wouldn't go down that path. And that one just happened not that long ago, where they tried everything possible to make the person's life better so that they would not, or to intervene so that they would not make the choice to commit suicide, for example. And they still did. So did the person that was trying to convince him, the person that was trying to create a different scenario, fail? Or the fact that they need to feel guilty for it? No. They played whatever role they felt. And if they didn't play a role at all and did not step up, it's still what it is. It's up to the individual. Any death whatsoever could be an accident, can be an illness, can be suicide, can be all types of things. Okay? The individual that's leaving the planet, unplugging, chooses to do so because the role that they had to play, whatever time sequence they plugged in, is time for them to move on. Okay? the way they leave does not really affect the individual personally that's leaving. If they use exit door A, B, C, D, does not matter so much. It's still the exit. However, leaving through door A, B, C, D makes a difference for the people around them, the people involved. So for example, somebody in the family commits suicide. Well, let's take a family dynamics. A young person, could be an older person, doesn't matter. A young person decided that they're done, they want to check out. They will check from a superconscious level with the superconscious, from a soul level and all the other levels, meaning even the body and so forth, with other individuals in the family and says, hey, I'm done, I'm out of here. I want to be of service on the way out. How could I be best of service? How could I push whatever buttons or bring up guilt or do whatever to serve you the best possible? Because that's the way I'll go. No problem. I have no problem which way I go, which door I use to exit. I'm going to still exit. And then they'll play that role. They will exit the people that are left. So for example, in a family, somebody getting sick and dying will impact the family very differently to somebody having a car accident or some form of accident and dying. There's a difference between the two. But there's a bigger difference when somebody commits suicide, because it creates a different impact. And I've seen it even in our own family dynamics where that occurred some years ago. And you saw the fact that how it impacted the family. There was a lot of guilt, a lot of feeling I wasn't there for them. Maybe I didn't do enough. And it didn't stop with the immediate family. It extended through the extended family and some friendships. And the thing is, it didn't even make sense, because if you looked at their life stream, their reality, it was pretty cool, which many people would have loved to have. That particular situation was a young person with a young family, with supportive family like parents, with no lack of education, no lack of funds, no lack of anything. And you would think, how possible could that be when their life is pretty freaking cool compared to what other people? But the individual, the person, which was an extended family of ours, said, I'm done, I'm out of here. Now, I'm going to leave committing suicide. That way, I will cause a ripple effect for everybody in the family to bring up their baggage, their stories, their programs, and so forth. So how do you get rid of it? The whole idea is to understand that the person did whatever. You played whatever role you needed to play. Even if you played the role of saying, of disbelief, or even when they called upon you for what looked like assistance, you did not follow up to the same degree and they checked out. So it's a matter of acknowledging how you feel about it, what you feel guilty about. Feel guilty I wasn't there, feeling guilty that I could have done more. Look at all those things, because you want to address them all, acknowledge them all, thank it all, and love it all, and let it go. Because the thing is, the person that committed the suicide left on those, and it gave a gift. Because if you look at it, it's a gift for growth for everybody in the family. Even though when it looks like pain, it looks like a lot of guilt that plays out for all the other individuals involved in the experience. Okay, was that it, Miss Kimberly? Okay, we're good. Sorry about the YouTube people if we can't check the questions. Okay, the last couple you were able to get, and then the rest of it. Okay, great. Sorry, all the stuff before that disappeared, unfortunately. Okay, here we are. What was I going to say? We were going to do a process. I know we've gone way over time. I didn't really realize how long I've been talking here. I think I've put a lot of focus on it. But the thing is, you have to understand it's really, really important for us to understand all of this stuff, because it does either slow down your path, and this information actually brings that clarity, so you can actually step up even a lot more powerfully and quickly than you would normally be on a particular path right now. Were you saying something, Kimberly? No? Okay. If you're not to share, just mute yourself. Okay, great. So the process we're going to do, we'll have to do a shorter one, is the fact of taking a look at the idea of a mistake. Okay, so if you can at this point in time, I'm just going to bring my chair. Oops. If you can at this point in time, close your eyes and just relax for a moment, for a few minutes. Then we'll do a little process of addressing some of our guilt, the idea of mistake, whatever supports you here. Let's bring this up. There we go. The idea of failure and so forth. So just pick one, and then the process we're going to do, you can repeat on your own the different ones. So just pick one at this point, or something else that you have put a lot of focus on, so that may have happened in the past. So if you feel that you made a mistake, or that you failed, that somehow you have guilt, or you have regret. So let's put our attention on that. We're going to play with that. So just close your eyes. Just focus on the breath right now. And if you're driving or doing something, don't close your eyes for sure. But you can also bring up whatever is really coming up for you. But really pay attention to what you're doing. So this will be there in the recording, so you can listen to it later and do the process. So you can close your eyes and just focus on the breath, and let's be present with the breath. And we're going to follow the rhythm of the breath. So really take deep breaths without straining yourself. Exhale completely without straining yourself. You want to take it deep and exhale completely, but without creating any strain. So let's pay attention. Let's be present with the breath. And really all that should be available right now is you breathing in and out. Just allowing that beautiful breath in and out. And each time you exhale, just feel yourself more relaxed, letting go of any tension and tightness you may have. Should a thought pop in, just see yourself taking that thought and just put it out in the field around you. The field is everywhere around you. Just take it. Just put it in the field. All you're doing is focusing on the breath. Of course, you're listening to my voice that's guiding you, but just focus on the breath and allow yourself to be really immersed in the breath and that beautiful rhythm of in and out. And as you continue to breathe in and out, going deeper and deeper, more and more relaxed, feeling more and more at ease. And be more and more present, because the breath is a powerful tool to bring you to the presence. And realizing that the breath is not an old breath. Every breath is new. Every exhale is new. So it's true presence, true nowness. Because you have to understand, what you breathe in is the most current air. Air is always in motion. It's in motion throughout the whole planet. You cannot have the same air unless you're in a chamber where you're breathing in the same air. And for you to breathe the same air, it's not possible either, unless you've been in that chamber for a while and you've breathed the same air over and over again. Because there's always a mixture that changes. Because you're putting in energy in, you're putting carbon dioxide in, and you're removing oxygen. So the air is always transforming anyways. So every breath is brand new. And you can say to yourself in your mind, I choose to be fully present with the breath. There's nothing right now but the breath and what I'm hearing that Franco is sharing. Now let's gently put our attention on a potential a mistake that's coming up for us, an idea of a failure, possibly some guilt or regret. Just pick one. Something that comes up for you a lot, or time to time. Doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a lot. If it's in your attention, it needs your attention. And see what is coming up. Let's acknowledge it. Let's acknowledge it. See that idea of the mistake, the idea of failure, guilt, regret. Just see the idea. I see you. If there's emotions involved, allow the emotions to be present. Don't resist it, and don't express it. Just be present with it. It's an energy. It's a feeling, an emotional feeling. It may have a charge, polarized or otherwise, doesn't matter. Just be present with it. Acknowledge the emotion, any involved feeling or co-constructed storyline. I see you, I accept you. I'm open to receive from you. And now, appreciate it. I thank you. I thank you for the opportunity, for what I experienced with that idea, concept, perception. I thank you for feeling there was a mistake, a failure, a guilt, a regret, any of them. I thank you for the sequences that were created, the polarization, the realism, I choose to see the perfection in it. I acknowledge that I created it. It may have involved co-creation. It may have involved other participants. I provided instructions to the participants. I gave them the script. I chose the perfect playmates to play out that role. I acknowledge that I played my role for them. That I stepped up and was able to take on the role in absolute perfection. I thank the participants for allowing me to play the role, because each individual that plays the role is given the opportunity for advancement and growth within it, enrichment of their experience. And now I open my heart and I share what I am. Pure love. Love as who I am. I am the spirit of sourceness, spirit of creation, spirit in action. And with that, I am completely in a state of love for my experience, for my co-creation, for my dance within the co-creation, for the opportunity and the experience that I had within it. And seeing it from this moment, love in action that I am. And I take all of the idea of mistake, failure, being whatever it is specifically, whatever that was labeled as, not just mistakes, whatever that you determined as mistake, that particular experience, that particular choice. Whatever guilt you may be having, and regret, with the greatest amount of love, see yourself putting it into the field around you. Where as soon as it goes into the field, it actually becomes back to pure source essence, ready and enriched with experience to be utilized for new creations. You're just putting that whole experience back to its full spectrum light and vibrational frequency to merge with the field that we are all part of and experiencing ourselves within it, which is us. Because right now, we realize that all of it was perfect. All of it has enriched us and brought us where we are today. And tune into your heart and feel the excitement of this chapter being completed by putting all of that beautifully in the field. Should there be any remaining story, just repeat the process. Acknowledge the story. See how it served. Thank it. Appreciate it immensely and love it. And then put it into the field once you're done, because it's done. It's not a hot potato anymore. You're just putting it away because you're done with it. It was part of your toy set while you were playing. And if there's any individuals that were involved that played a very polarized role for you, very negative role, and we have a difficult time with it, acknowledge that. Just see it for what it is. A beautiful co-creation. See yourself now. I thank you for the role. I thank you for exactly following all steps of the instructions provided. Thank you for being so intense, so whatever that may have been, to make it look so real. While I thank myself for utilizing that opportunity and really enhancing things. Thanking supersedes forgiving 1,000-fold. Because it transforms everything to its natural origin and state of consciousness. And the more intense the role is, and the more vivid it is, and the more emotional it is, the more thanks and love you give it until it becomes neutralized. And when I say neutralized, be neutral. It no longer carries a charge. You can even envision yourself extending your arms and embracing the individual. And say, thank you. I love you. I set you free from that role. No longer required to be played that same way. We acknowledge that we're all facets of each other. We play various roles to advance each other. And we are all moving forward in that advancement. If there's any remaining heaviness, just pay attention to it, just observe it, just keep thanking it. Thanking it, find all the beautiful gifts it provided you, polarized and otherwise, and keep sending it love. Because the moment you feel that genuine love, that's when it starts to transform. And it's so easy to let it be. And now let's thank ourselves. I thank myself for such a beautiful role that I've taken on. I thank myself to make myself experience something heavy, real, and polarized to serve. I thank myself for the beautiful, stellar experience. I thank myself for using all of my capabilities each step of the way, and even anything that I've held up to now, to be able to do what I have just done. I am perfect. I create in perfection. And perfection does not require labels, definition, polarization, categorizing. It just is. Every experience holds a certain frequency. Once we've experienced it and no longer serves us, it alters. And that is so. And we realize that we are pure love. There's nothing but love. Source is love. Spirit is love. Creation is love. What's created is love. The exhibition of creation and experience is love. We do not need to love ourselves. We need to allow our love just to be. We just look at whatever judgment and label we applied ourselves, acknowledge it, thank it for its service, love it, and let it free. You are perfect. You are a powerful creator, and that's what you do best. What's shifting is that polarity is no longer required, unless in some way it needs to nudge you to move forward. And it's only temporary. And that is it. That is so. We can repeat this process as many times as it serves us. But right now, let's put our attention on the breath. Once again, being fully present with the breath. All that exists is this moment. Whatever we have at our disposal is all that matters. And as we put on the focus on the breath, being fully present with our beautiful deep breath in and our complete exhalation. And just enjoying the movement of the breath, the fluidity of the breath, the flow of the breath, the beautiful movement. It's like a dance. The breath is like a dance. And let's focus on the next 5 breaths. After completing the 5th breath, fully in and out, just allow yourself to be fully attentive to wherever you are. Opening your eyes, being wide awake, feeling absolutely amazing. For you are amazing. So when comfortable, just open your eyes, be wide awake, feeling absolutely amazing, for you are amazing. back. Thank you for that co-creation. Because we did it together, each one of us have created a template that serves each other, so that whenever we repeat this, we are supported. What we just did, you were supported. When you repeat it, you'll be supported. This is only a tool for you to use to really shift those parts of it so that you can really step things up and move with much more ease. Right now, the comfortableness of being through ease is of high service for you. We are moving so much more quickly, such more powerfully at this point in time, that anything we can use to kind of move things quickly along and let go of all the stuff we've been dragging on, holding on, that was created in that inverted matrix, inverted 3D and 2D, we can just let that go with much more ease. And that's where we're at right now. That's the beauty of it all. So thank you for the co-creation. I know we went a lot longer than I anticipated. I think this is the longest video I've ever done in regards to the series, and so episode 67. I will split it up so that I will provide a separate recording, video recording, of the process itself. So use it complete and also separately. So again, I just want to remind you, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe. If you haven't shared, share if you feel in alignment with this. Comment, like, whatever is offered on the platform so we can reach more people. In the description, you will have a link if you want to join the newsletter so that you get notification time to time. If you subscribe, you will get notifications. Sometimes you don't. So, tune in. If you haven't seen anything come through lately, just check in. We do have a link for the podcast if you'd like to access the podcasts. We do have podcasts coming out fairly regularly with a few interruptions, of course. We do these once or twice a week, the episodes, so, stay tuned for that. If you'd like to support our work, because it resonates for you and you want to support the work that we are doing, we certainly welcome your contributions. We've had some beautiful souls that have contributed. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It allows us to maintain the platforms, allows us to support ourselves as we continue to put more and more content together. We are on a fast track of great movement and growth right now, so that at this point in time, everything that we provide serves us in a very powerful way. So if you'd like to contribute, in the description, wherever platform you're on, there is a link to the PayPal, and you can provide whatever you feel to share. If not, that's okay too. We're making the content free because we want to reach as many people as possible, but then we also appreciate and can utilize your support as you feel guided to do so, if you do so. And that's it. Until next time, go out and play. Kimberly, is there anything that I did not cover that you want to mention right now so I can wrap her up? Okay, so until next time, go out and play. Have an amazing journey. We are all stepping into a much more empowered state, but you're supported. You're supported energetically. You're supported with all of us all over the world that are on the same path and moving forward. Till next time, see you later.